Welcome to the world of the paranormal. Hello, dear friends, and welcome to another spine-chilling journey into the unknown. If you're just joining us, you've found yourself in the right place, a sanctuary for those who dare to explore the world beyond the veil. This channel is dedicated to uncovering the most terrifying, unexplained, and downright eerie places that history has left behind. We delve deep into the shadows of forgotten corners, abandoned halls, and haunted landscapes, bringing you stories that will make your skin crawl and your heart race. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into one of the most haunted states in the country, California. California isn't just known for its sunny beaches, Hollywood dreams, and sprawling cities. Beneath its glimmering surface lies a darker history, one steeped in tragedy, mystery, and supernatural occurrences. From ghost ships anchored in bustling harbors to abandoned hospitals where echoes of the past still linger, the Golden State is home to some of the most haunted locations in the world. Whether you're a skeptic, a believer, or simply a thrill seeker, these places will leave you questioning what really lurks in the dark. Tonight, we're counting down the top 10 most haunted places in California, locations where the veil between the living and the dead is said to be at its thinnest. Each of these spots has its own unique history, its own tragic past, and its own chilling tales that have been whispered for generations. We'll take you through each location, exploring the events that led to their haunted reputations and the eerie encounters that have been reported by those brave enough to visit. From the echoing halls of historic mansions to the isolated ruins of forgotten towns, these places have become infamous for their supernatural activity. So, if you're ready to step into the unknown, grab a blanket, turn off the lights, and prepare yourself for a night of terror. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, these stories will leave you with goosebumps. So without further ado, let's begin our descent into the darkness. Number 10 on our list might surprise you, and trust me, things only get scarier from there. The Queen Mary, a ghost ship adrift in time. Our journey into California's haunted past begins with one of the most infamous ghost ships in the world, the Queen Mary. Moored in the harbor of Long Beach, this once grand ocean liner now serves as a luxury hotel and museum. But beneath its polished floors and elegant ballrooms lies a history steeped in tragedy, mystery, and unexplained phenomena. Known as the Titanic of the Pacific, the Queen Mary was launched in 1936 as the pinnacle of maritime luxury, ferrying passengers across the Atlantic in style. However, during its decades of service, the ship bore witness to countless tragedies, fires, drownings, wartime deaths, and even unsolved disappearances. Today, it is widely regarded as one of the most haunted places in California, with guests and staff reporting eerie encounters that defy logical explanation. One of the most well-known and chilling locations aboard the Queen Mary is Room B-17. This unassuming stateroom has gained a sinister reputation as one of the most haunted spots on the ship. According to legend, a young boy named Jackie was playing in the hallway outside the room when a sudden gust of wind slammed the heavy door shut, crushing him against the bulkhead. His body was later found crumpled on the floor, and since that day, guests staying in room B-17 have reported strange occurrences, phantom giggles echoing in the night, the sensation of a small child tugging at their bedsheets, and even fleeting glimpses of a spectral boy standing at the foot of the bed. Some visitors claim to have seen the door slam shut on its own, despite there being no breeze in the enclosed corridor. Beyond room B-17, the ship's engine room is another hotbed of paranormal activity. Workers and guests alike have reported hearing the sound of heavy boots stomping across the metal grates late at night, only to find no one there. Some believe these footsteps belong to a long-dead crew member who perished in an accident during the ship's early years. Others claim to have seen the ghostly figure of a man in a vintage boiler suit walking through the engine room before vanishing into thin air. The most spine-chilling tale, however, comes from a guest who claimed to have been pushed from behind while standing near the edge of the engine room's catwalk. He turned around to find no one there, yet the force of the push was strong enough to nearly send him tumbling into the depths below. Another infamous location aboard the Queen Mary is the first-class swimming pool. Once a symbol of opulence, the pool is now drained and covered in glass, allowing visitors to peer into its depths. According to reports, a man once dove into the pool during a party and struck his head on the bottom, suffering fatal injuries. Since then, guests have claimed to hear the sound of water splashing and laughter echoing from the empty pool, even though no one is nearby. Some say they can feel the sensation of being watched, as if unseen eyes are peering up from the shadows below. The ship's Grand Salon, once a hub of glamour and entertainment, is also said to be haunted. Guests and staff have reported seeing the ghostly figure of a woman in a white gown drifting across the ballroom floor, only to vanish into thin air. Some believe she was a passenger who died aboard the ship, while others speculate she may have been a member of the crew who met an untimely end. The most unsettling accounts come from musicians who claim that their instruments play notes on their own, even when no one is touching them. The sound of a phantom orchestra playing old jazz tunes has been reported late at night, long after the hotel has gone silent. Perhaps the most terrifying part of the Queen Mary is the ship's staircase located near the stern. According to legend, a woman once jumped from this very spot, plummeting into the icy waters below. Since then, visitors have reported feeling an inexplicable sense of dread when walking near the staircase, as if an unseen presence is urging them to step over the edge. Some guests have even claimed to hear a woman's voice whispering in their ear, pleading for help. Others have described sudden, overwhelming feelings of sadness and despair, as if they are momentarily sharing in the woman's final moments. Despite its haunted reputation, the Queen Mary remains a popular destination for both tourists and paranormal investigators. The hotel even offers overnight stays in its most notoriously haunted rooms, giving guests the chance to experience the supernatural activity firsthand. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there's something undeniably eerie about spending the night in a place where history and tragedy intertwine so deeply. From phantom giggles in room B17 to unexplained footsteps in the engine room, the Queen Mary continues to captivate and terrify all who dare to enter its halls. The island of the Blue Dolphins, a lone spirit lost in time off the coast of Santa Barbara, lies a place shrouded in isolation, mystery, and sorrow. The island of the Blue Dolphins, also known as San Nicolas Island. Though uninhabited today, this desolate stretch of land is steeped in a haunting history that has given rise to countless eerie tales and reports of paranormal activity. It is a place where the echoes of the past seem to linger in the wind, and where the spirit of a lone woman, known only as the Lone Woman of San Nicolas Island, is said to still wander the shores. The island's haunting legacy begins with the story of Juana Maria, a Native American woman of the Nicolino tribe who was left behind when her people were evacuated by missionaries in 1835. For nearly 2 decades, Juana Maria lived alone on the island, surviving by hunting sea otters, fishing, and weaving intricate baskets from kelp. She remained completely isolated until 1853, when a rescue mission led by Captain George Nidiver finally found her, bringing her back to the mainland. However, her time in civilization was short-lived. Just 7 weeks after her rescue, she succumbed to dysentery, leaving behind only a handful of artifacts and an enduring mystery. Since then, San Nicolas Island has become a place of intrigue and unease. The United States Navy now controls the island, restricting access to all but authorized personnel, but those who have ventured there speak of strange occurrences, whispers on the wind, fleeting shadows moving through the underbrush, and the sensation of being watched by unseen eyes. Some claim to have heard the sound of someone sobbing softly near the shoreline, only to find no one there. Others have reported seeing a figure standing at a distance, watching them in silence before vanishing into the mist. One of the most chilling aspects of the island is its eerie, otherworldly silence. With no roads, no buildings, and no signs of modern civilization, the island feels untouched by time, as if it exists in a liminal space between the past and the present. The wind howls through the cliffs, and waves crash against the rocky shores, creating an atmosphere thick with melancholy and solitude. Some paranormal investigators believe that the island's isolation has preserved the energy of Juana Maria's existence, making it a hotspot for residual hauntings, unexplained phenomena that replay themselves like echoes of the past. There are also reports of strange lights appearing in the distance, flickering like lanterns before disappearing into the night. Some believe these lights belong to Juana Maria's spirit, wandering the island as she once did in life. Others suggest that they may be the remnants of long-forgotten fishermen or sailors who perished in the treacherous waters surrounding the island. Whatever the case, Local legends also speak of a strange, otherworldly hunger that lingers in the air. Those who have visited the Donner Party camp claim to feel an inexplicable urge to consume, as if the land itself remembers the desperate acts committed there. Some have reported finding strange markings on tree trunks, deep gouges that resemble claw marks, as if something had been trying to escape the earth itself. Others have spoken of nightmares that plague them after visiting the site, filled with visions of skeletal hands reaching out from the snow, whispering names they do not recognize. Despite the passage of time, the Donner Party's tragic legacy continues to haunt the Sierra Nevada mountains. The land remembers the suffering, the choices made in desperation, and the unspeakable horrors that unfolded beneath the snow-laden pines. Whether the spirits of the lost truly linger or if the weight of history is simply too strong to ignore, one thing is certain: those who dare to visit the Donner Party camp will never forget the feeling of being watched, the whisper of the wind carrying echoes of the past, and the unshakable sense that something dark still dwells in the shadows of the trees. The Stanford Mansion. A governor's shadow and the lady in red tucked away in the heart of Sacramento, the Stanford Mansion stands as a testament to California's rich political history and its haunted past. Built in 1856 by businessman Shelton Fogus, the home was later purchased by Leland Stanford, a wealthy businessman and the 8th governor of California. During its time as the official governor's residence, the mansion played host to numerous dignitaries, political figures, and lavish social gatherings. However, beneath its grandeur and opulence lies a history of tragedy, mystery, and unexplained occurrences that have cemented its place as one of California's most haunted locations. One of the most chilling stories associated with the Stanford Mansion involves a tragic death that occurred within its walls. In the early 1860s, a young servant girl working for the Stanford family was said to have fallen deeply in love with Leland Stanford himself. According to legend, the affair ended in heartbreak, and the young woman, overcome with despair, took her own life in one of the mansion's upstairs bedrooms. It is said that her spirit never left the home, and to this day, visitors and staff report eerie encounters with the ghost of the lady in red. Witnesses claim to have seen a figure in a flowing red dress standing at the top of the staircase, only to vanish before they could approach her. Others have reported hearing the faint strains of a waltz playing in the grand ballroom late at night, though no one is present. The mansion's most infamous haunting, however, is attributed to the restless spirit of Leland Stanford himself. After his tenure as governor, Stanford continued to reside in the mansion, hosting numerous political meetings and social events. When he passed away in 1893, his funeral was held in the home, and it is believed that his spirit has never truly left. Staff members who have worked in the mansion over the years claim to have seen a tall, imposing figure in 19th-century attire walking through the halls at night, disappearing into the walls. Some have reported feeling an unseen presence following them, and others have claimed to hear the sound of footsteps pacing across the wooden floors when no one else is present. One particularly unsettling account comes from a tour guide who worked at the mansion for several years. She described an incident in which she was giving a private tour to a group of guests when one of them, a man with no prior knowledge of the mansion's history, suddenly became visibly shaken. He claimed to see a ghostly figure standing in the corner of the main parlor, staring directly at him. The figure, he insisted, was a tall man in a dark suit with piercing eyes and an air of authority. When the tour guide asked him how he knew this, he replied, "I don't know how, but I just know that man is watching me." Moments later, the figure vanished, leaving the man visibly shaken and the rest of the group in stunned silence. The mansion's eerie reputation has attracted numerous paranormal investigators over the years, many of whom have captured strange anomalies on camera. Some have recorded what appears to be shadowy figures moving through the rooms, while others have picked up disembodied voices on audio recordings. One particularly chilling piece of evidence comes from a thermal imaging camera that captured what appeared to be a human-like heat signature standing near the fireplace in the main parlor, despite no one being in the room at the time. Despite its haunted reputation, the Stanford Mansion remains a popular destination for history enthusiasts and ghost hunters alike. Whether the spirits of the past truly linger within its walls or if the weight of history simply leaves an imprint on those who visit, one thing is certain: the mansion holds an undeniable aura of mystery and intrigue. For those who dare to step inside, the echoes of the past are never far behind. The Dana Adobe, a curse that refuses to fade deep in the rolling hills of Nipomo, California, stands a place steeped in history, violence, and unrelenting darkness. The Dana Adobe. Originally built in 1839 by Captain William G. Dana, this historic adobe ranch house was once a thriving homestead in the heart of California's frontier. However, beneath its weathered walls and sun-baked corridors lies a legacy of tragedy, betrayal, and supernatural terror that has earned it a place among California's most haunted locations. The haunting of the Dana Adobe is said to begin with the tragic death of Captain Dana's wife, Josefa Carrillo, a member of a prominent Californio family. According to local legend, Josefa was a woman of great beauty and pride, but her life took a dark turn when she discovered that her husband was involved in a scandalous affair with a Mexican widow named Maria Ascension. Consumed by rage and jealousy, Josefa confronted her husband, leading to a bitter argument that ended in violence. In one version of the tale, Dana, overwhelmed by guilt and frustration, allegedly murdered his wife in a fit of rage. In another, Josefa, devastated by the betrayal, took her own life within the walls of the adobe. Either way, her death marked the beginning of the house's descent into darkness. Before her death, it is said that Josefa placed a powerful curse upon the house, vowing that no one who lived there would ever find peace. Witnesses claim that she was last seen wandering the halls in a blood-stained wedding dress, muttering curses in Spanish before vanishing into the night. Since then, the adobe has been plagued by strange and terrifying occurrences, from unexplained deaths to violent outbursts and eerie apparitions that refuse to be forgotten. One of the most infamous tragedies linked to the Dana Adobe occurred in the early 20th century, when a caretaker and his wife took up residence in the house. According to reports, the couple began experiencing disturbing phenomena almost immediately. Doors would slam shut on their own, whispering voices would echo through the empty halls, and an oppressive, suffocating presence seemed to follow them wherever they went. The caretaker, a rational and skeptical man, initially dismissed the occurrences as mere tricks of the mind, but his wife was less convinced. She claimed to have seen the ghostly figure of a woman in a white gown standing at the foot of their bed, her eyes filled with sorrow and rage. The situation took a dark turn when the caretaker began suffering from violent mood swings, growing increasingly erratic and aggressive. Neighbors reported hearing loud arguments coming from the house late at night, followed by the sound of objects crashing to the floor. Then, one morning, the caretaker was found dead in the adobe's courtyard, his body twisted and broken as if he had fallen from the second floor. His wife was nowhere to be found. Days later, she was discovered wandering along Highway 1, completely disoriented and muttering incoherently about the woman in white. She was taken to a mental institution, where she spent the rest of her days speaking of the horrors she had witnessed in the Dana Adobe. Over the years, numerous visitors and paranormal investigators have reported similar experiences. Many describe an overwhelming sense of dread upon entering the house, as if they are being watched by unseen eyes. Some have claimed to hear the sound of a woman crying softly in the distance, only to find no one there. Others have reported feeling sudden, unexplainable bursts of anger or despair, as if the emotions of those who suffered within the house's walls are still lingering in the air. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a group of paranormal investigators who conducted a night-long vigil inside the adobe. Equipped with thermal imaging cameras and audio recorders, they set up in the main hallway, where many of the most intense hauntings have been reported. As they sat in silence, they captured what appeared to be a shadowy figure moving through the hallway, vanishing into the walls. Moments later, one of the investigators, a woman who had never visited the house before, began to experience a sudden and violent panic attack. She claimed to see a woman in a white dress standing at the top of the stairs, her face contorted in anguish. The woman was unable to move, paralyzed by an unseen force until one of her companions forcibly pulled her away. The Dana Adobe's history of violence and despair does not end there. During the 1980s, the house was briefly converted into a restaurant and event space, drawing in curious visitors and paranormal enthusiasts alike. However, the business quickly failed, with employees reporting increasingly bizarre and terrifying experiences. Today, The Dana Adobe stands as a historical landmark, open to the public for tours and events. However, even the most skeptical visitors often leave with a lingering sense of unease, as if the house itself is aware of their presence. Whether the spirits of the past truly linger within its walls or if the weight of history simply leaves an imprint on those who enter, one thing is certain: the Dana Adobe is a place where the past refuses to be forgotten, and where the echoes of tragedy still haunt the air. The San Francisco Dungeon, where history meets horror. Deep in the heart of San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf lies a place where history and horror intertwine. The San Francisco Dungeon. Unlike the other haunted locations on this list, the dungeon is not an abandoned ruin or a centuries-old house of sorrow. It is a modern attraction designed to terrify guests with theatrical performances, immersive storytelling, and a chilling journey through the city's darkest moments. However, for those who have explored beyond its carefully crafted illusions, there is a lingering sense that something more than just entertainment awaits within its walls. The San Francisco Dungeon is a themed attraction that takes visitors through a series of historically inspired horror shows, recounting the city's most gruesome and tragic events. From the Gold Rush-era hangings to the devastation of the 1906 earthquake, the dungeon brings the past to life in a way that is both educational and terrifying. Yet, for all its theatrical elements, there are those who believe that the dungeon is more than just a place of make-believe, that the spirits of San Francisco's past have found a home within its walls. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at the dungeon is the sound of phantom screams echoing through the corridors, long after the actors have left for the night. Staff members who work late shifts have described hearing voices that do not belong to any of the performers, whispering in languages that cannot be identified. Some have even claimed to feel an unseen presence brushing past them in the darkness, despite knowing that they are completely alone. These occurrences have led some to believe that the dungeon is built upon land that has borne witness to real suffering, and that the energy of those who perished here has never truly left. The Myrtles Plantation, a house of curses and blood nestled in the quiet town of St. Francisville, Louisiana, just across the border from California, stands the Myrtles Plantation, a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural intertwine in a tale of betrayal, murder, and relentless hauntings. While not technically located in California, the Myrtles Plantation is often included in discussions of the most haunted places in the region due to its historical significance and its reputation as one of the most haunted homes in America. Built in 1796 by General David Bradford, a wealthy lawyer and alleged participant in the Whiskey Rebellion, the plantation has been the site of countless paranormal encounters, each more chilling than the last. The most infamous haunting at the Myrtles is that of Chloe, a house slave who is believed to have been poisoned and hanged for her role in a deadly act of vengeance. According to legend, Chloe was a beautiful young woman who caught the eye of Clark Woodruff, the plantation's owner at the time. Their secret affair resulted in 2 children, but when Chloe's jealousy grew upon learning of Woodruff's marriage to another woman, she sought revenge in the most horrifying way possible. She is said to have poisoned a birthday cake with toxic oleander leaves, intending to kill only Woodruff's wife and daughter. Instead, the poison claimed the lives of both women, and Chloe was swiftly punished, hanged from the plantation's massive cypress tree. Since that fateful day, Chloe's spirit has supposedly never left the Myrtles. Guests and residents alike have reported seeing her ghostly figure wandering the halls, her head tilted at an unnatural angle, the ropes still visible around her neck. Some claim to have felt her presence in the upstairs nursery, where she is said to have once cared for the Woodruff children. Others have captured images of a young girl in period clothing peering from the windows, her eyes filled with sorrow. Perhaps the most disturbing accounts come from those who have claimed to hear the sound of a woman weeping in the dead of night, only to find no one there. The Myrtles Plantation is also home to the spirits of the Woodruff children, whose tragic deaths have left an indelible mark on the house. Visitors have reported feeling the sensation of small hands tugging at their clothing, hearing the sound of children laughing and playing in empty rooms, and even catching glimpses of 2 young girls darting through the corridors before vanishing into thin air. The nursery, where the children once slept, is said to be particularly active, with guests describing a cold, oppressive presence that settles over them the moment they step inside. The Linda Vista Hospital ruins, echoes of the forgotten deep within the heart of Riverside, California, lies the crumbling remains of the Linda Vista Hospital, a once proud institution that has become a breeding ground for horror and despair. Established in the 1920s as a tuberculosis treatment center, the hospital was designed to provide care for patients suffering from the deadly disease. However, beneath its sterile walls and long-abandoned corridors, a darker history unfolded, one of neglect, suffering, and the lingering echoes of the dead. Today, the ruins of Linda Vista Hospital are considered one of California's most haunted places, with countless reports of paranormal activity and terrifying encounters from those who have dared to explore its decaying halls. The hospital's reputation for horror began during its operation, when it became a place of both medical treatment and quiet tragedy. Tuberculosis was a devastating illness in the early 20th century, and many of the patients admitted to Linda Vista Hospital were given little hope of survival. The treatments of the time were primitive and often painful, and many patients were subjected to experimental procedures with little regard for their well-being. Some were kept in isolation for years, their only company the distant sounds of suffering echoing through the halls. The hospital's strict regimen and harsh conditions led to reports of patient mistreatment, and it is said that the cries of the dying still linger in the air long after the hospital was abandoned. Final thoughts. The echoes that linger as we bring our journey through California's most haunted places to a close. One thing becomes undeniably clear: these locations are more than just relics of the past. They are living, breathing testaments to the tragedies, mysteries, and unexplained phenomena that continue to shape our understanding of the world beyond. Each of these places carries a story etched in sorrow and shadow, a haunting melody of history that refuses to fade into silence. From the spectral whispers aboard the Queen Mary to the desolate cries of San Nicolas Island, from the blood-stained walls of the Dana Adobe to the echoing footsteps of the Whaley House, these sights remind us that the past is never truly gone. It lingers in the air, in the stones, in the very soil beneath our feet, waiting for someone to listen. What makes these places so compelling isn't just their reputation for ghostly encounters or spine-chilling tales. It's the humanity at their core. Every haunting is rooted in a life lived, a moment frozen in time, a story that demands to be remembered. Whether it's the desperate cries of the Donner Party's lost souls, the tormented spirit of the lone woman of San Nicolas Island, or the tragic legacy of the Linda Vista Hospital, these are not just tales of terror. They are echoes of real lives, real pain, and real history. They invite us to confront the unknown, to grapple with the mysteries that defy explanation, and to consider the possibility that the boundaries between the living and the dead may be thinner than we dare to believe. Yet, even as we explore these haunted corners of California, we must tread carefully. These are not mere attractions or backdrops for thrill-seeking adventures. They are places of sorrow, of loss, of unresolved energy that deserves our respect. Whether you visit in person or simply immerse yourself in their stories from afar, remember that every creaking floorboard, every shadow in the corner of your eye, every chill that runs down your spine could be more than just imagination. It could be a whisper from the past, a voice that has waited decades, or centuries, to be heard. So, dear explorers of the unknown, as you step back into the light of the present, carry these stories with you. Let them remind you that history is not confined to books or museums. It walks among us, hidden in forgotten halls, abandoned hospitals, and windswept shores. And who knows? Perhaps the next time you find yourself in California, you'll stand at the edge of one of these haunted places, heart pounding, breath held, wondering if the past is watching you just as closely as you're watching it. Until our next descent into the shadows, stay curious, stay brave, and above all, stay listening. The ghosts of California are waiting.